Man, what's up, everybody? Good evening. I hope everyone is having a good evening, had a good weekend. Hope everybody has a great week next week. But today, I want to kind of talk about this issue, this subject. I really didn't feel like talking about it because I, part of me feel like it's kind of self-explanatory. But lately, there's been a lot of going back and forth about this, and it's kind of pushed me to the point to where I want to talk about it. And what we're gonna be talking about tonight is, my boy. I ain't even stunt. I listen to Tariq Nasheed. I like to listen to Tariq. I listen to a little bit of the Professor Black Truth, also Jason Black. But I also listen to Pan-African Strikes Back. I know his channel ain't as large, but I listen to him as well. I even listen to a little bit of Officer Tatum as well. Oh man, I guess because I'm the type of person who likes to get multiple perspectives before I make my ultimate decision. I even listen to Dr. Umar Johnson. I don't listen to Dr. Boyce Watkins as much because out this misunderstanding he called me out on about trading stocks, and I really feel like Dr. Boyce Watkins wasn't really as informative as he claims to be when it comes down to trading stocks. And so when he had kind of called me out on his channel, it kind of turned me off to a degree because, you know, because as us being, B1, right? I thought we were supposed to, be more inclusive and have each other back, and be willing to have open discussions and dialogue about things we may agree or disagree with. But before we get into that, man, please feel free to look into the comment section, check out the merchandise. My newest hoodie. Don't vote for me, then you ain't black. How they call it with Jim Crow Joe, Sleepy Joe. So don't vote for me, then you ain't black. All right, bliggity black. So feel free to check out the merch at on the edge dot shop my Shopify, and come support your boy. All right. Yes, ONDAEDGE dot my Shopify.com. So feel free. Check me out. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And let's dive right into it, right? So for those that you guys are not familiar, and I'm pretty sure many of you guys are if you're listening to this type of content, if you're not really familiar with Tariq Nasheed, he has a very big following. Not as large as like Officer Tatum, this, that, and the third, but has a pretty decent following. He is responsible for the Hidden Colors series, Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I believe. Then he also has a movie 1804 about the Haitian Revolution. Then I think he has a new one come out not too long ago called Buck Breaking. I haven't had a chance to see that one. But he's been responsible for putting out some pretty knowledgeable content to help stimulate and open up the minds of a lot of people in the Black community. Well, a lot of people, feel like, well, Tariq Nasheed he's making all this money off of Black people, off the what they call the racism hustle, right? Well, many people come in and they play on your emotions of racism and the boogeyman, or white supremacy, and make you feel like you are victimless, and utilize that to get you emotionally involved and to make you support them and their merchandise and their movements, just to make you feel like that is the way to offset the boogeyman problem. It's kind of like the Alex Jones method, right? Alex Jones, for a long time, if you guys are not familiar, he was a conspiracy theorist, and he would talk about the Bilderbergs, the Illuminati, and all these different things to get you emotionally disturbed. And then at the end or during his programming broadcasting, he would have these DVDs and t-shirts and all this apparel and things he would want you to buy to help support his channel, but also to have monetary gain. So when it comes to Tariq, a lot of people say, well, he's just pimping the culture, and he's doing all this just to make himself rich. He has a possibly a multi-million-dollar home. He's often in his video you see him riding his drop top. He got a Bentley. He takes all these trips around the world, XYZ. So I'm just gonna give you my perspective, and what I think, and is not always the right way. It's just what I see and what I think, right? So when I come down to listening to Tariq, I feel like you have to look at it a couple of different ways. And one of the first ways I look at it is, um, has he not brought more people to the conscious community table, right? Or just to even evaluate, or the people who wouldn't even normally even be thinking about these issues to the table. And I feel like yes, he has. Now, of course, also back it up, he's had a questionable background. So he's also been perceived as a pre-pimp or post-pimp, or whether that was true or not. There were videos about him being with white women and this, that, and the third, and now all of a sudden he's made this flip. So they're wondering, like, okay, has he just said, you know what, I'm gonna get out of that game and I get into this game because it's a little bit safer game, and hands off, baby. I ain't gotta really touch nothing. I ain't gotta touch, manage nothing really, manage people. I can just kind of manage, my mouthpiece, and then the people come to me like that, right? But I really feel like that, you know, when it comes down to, him, is that, he makes money, and he makes, a decent amount, pretty good money, but all of the time making money is not a negative or a bad thing. Um, First of all, if you do want to put out, the information, the type of information he puts out, and still be able to have adequate, access to attorneys, adequate access to defensive mechanisms like a home that may have to be exclusive from the regular community, because many of the things that you may speak about, whether all of it may be something that's true or agreed upon, could potentially put you in danger. Kind of like, for instance, when they had the swatting occur against him and his family, right? Also, a lot of the things that you may delve into, people become envious, right? So whether you are speaking the truth or not, but if people know that you're making a lot of money, you still gonna have haters and people who are gonna try to take that from you. So you still got to find yourself in a situation to where you can protect yourself, right? So that comes with making money. All right. So he's traveled the world, has done a lot of research. I assume he's been to multiple countries, and I'm assuming that the information that he brings back from these places is adequate information, and it's from his perspective too, right? I really don't have a disagreement with him making money, because many of us that are on YouTube, many people that are on YouTube, and especially we all know when you get to a certain amount of subscribers, you get to a certain amount of views or viewers, hours watched. You are making money. You are making money. You are monetizing it, right? And so many of us, or many people who are on here, they have their own merchandise as well. Whether you're talking about stocks, whether you're talking about black empowerment, white empowerment, whether you're talking about, just folding clothes, what to do with a baby, your newborns, right? You are putting yourself in position to benefit economically. So you can't really knock another person's hustle, right? Now, if they're doing it to the detriment of a person or the people, then that's a different story. So I can't really knock that. Also, he talks about how he has helped out, Dr. Francis Chris Wilson, also helped out Dr. Ben during their final states of transition. And that's a very, very honorable thing to do. And many of us who have, the finances or the resources, we don't reach out to many of our people that are struggling, that have put the knowledge out here to help them. Because many of those people, they die broke, right? Just be honest. It's not really a lot of money in the black empowerment game. I mean, unless you have some questionable, methods or tactics, right? Because You could be Al Sharpton, and people say, "Well, hey, look, I'm Al Sharpton. I'm what's the attorney for Lee Merrick? If you're one of these attorney guys who are helping file these class action lawsuits or civil lawsuits or whatnot, you could say there is money in the the black empowerment game. But for the most part, most of these people who stand out here like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, many of those guys did not die as wealthy people, right? So we have to keep that in mind when it comes down to keep that in mind. So that's how I feel about that. Let's see. They talk about the Black History Museum that he's supposed to be building up, and all the $1 million that he had raised in a month. You know, that's yet to be seen. So to me, as long as he comes through, fulfills his obligations on that, then I really have no knock on that, man. Now if he doesn't come through, that's a different story. But I really feel like at the end of the day, Tariq is gonna come through, whether he has to spend all of the money to establish the museum or not. I really feel like at the end of the day, he's gonna come through. Um, a lot of a lot of the other people that I listen to, um, you know, I really feel like that when it comes down to the different messages, that you can take the truths from each message and then kind of construct the best way to interpret all of it. Because not everything that everybody says to me is going to be 100% accurate. I like the Pan-African, mindset or idea or philosophy, right? Where all black people all around the world can reunite. But sometimes I really think like this mindset is best case scenario. Because I feel like we all know that there are good and bad in every race or every ethnicity, every color. You got black people that are good, you got black people that are bad, you got white people that are good, you got white people that are bad, so forth. Latinos and Asians and XYZ, right? You have good and bad in every race. So just to say that, because I am a foundational Black American, or I'm an American descendant of slaves, of a slave, because I didn't, arrive in America, uh, via immigration. That all Black Africans back in the motherland are going to accept me. I'm just not. I'm just. I have never been to Africa myself, but I don't think that that would be the case all over, all over the continent, right? But not saying that there aren't Black Africans when you go there that would accept you like their own brother, right? So to me, that's a holistic view of it, to where you have to be mindful of that. Just like if you go to the Black communities in America, right? If I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I go to Los Angeles, in one of their hoods, or Atlanta or Chicago, Detroit, then you might have some issues there. You might have some problems because you're not from their neighborhood, and you don't know the lingo, you don't know the code in their neighborhood. So you might run into a lot of issues. So therefore, you know, even though I am a, black, foundational Black American, ADOS, whatever you want to label it, and many of those people in those areas maybe too, we still may not all jail, right? So therefore, I'm saying that the whole Pan-Africanism may not work 100%. Not saying that it is not a good idealistic situation, because you can see right now, even white people fight each other. The Ukrainians fighting the Russians, and you got the Americans, who will fight the Germans. And what was that? World War II. So people almost the same ethnic makeup can still have fighting, right? The famous movie Hotel Rwanda, where they talk about the Hutu and the Tutsi, right? They're basically same ethnic people, but they would have internal fighting due to tribalism. It's just the same thing with Muslim. You have the Shia, right, and I can't think of the name of it, but a lot of the fighting will happen between the different type of Muslim, the different religions that occurred, in Islam, right? So Sunni and Shia, sorry. So you have the Sunnis and you have the Shia, those of all Islam, but you had different beliefs in Islam, which would cause the infighting. So just to keep that, and be mindful of that. So okay, all right, and also, so just kind of keep that in mind. So Tariq also talks about, being Aboriginal black people here in America, right? Like many of the black people here in America are descendants of the Aboriginal people in in America, right? So not saying that many of us weren't brought up on slave ships. Many of us are just descendants of the Aboriginal black people that were already here. Well, I can look at that a couple ways, and I'm gonna play a quick video. I really feel like that if you're all black Aboriginal, even with the Aborigines in Australia, they still had to come from Africa. We could talk about when the world was possibly all connected, all these land masses were connected, and it made it easier for people to travel across the world. Or when the land masses gradually started to separate, people were able to travel, to this world, and Africans were, oldest people, so they were the ones to colonize the world first, right? But they still pretty much came out of Africa, right? So that still would kind of technically make you an African, who descended, you're in America, so I guess you'll be an African American, but you have the distinctions, right? So real quick, let me just play a quick video, share with you guys. Man, let's see. So check it out.
Evidence, on the other hand, remains uncontradicted, uncontroverted, and wholly incontestable, no matter the variables. Contrary to popular belief, African American history did not start with slavery. An overwhelming body of new evidence is emerging, which proves that Africans had frequently sailed across the Atlantic to the Americas thousands of years before Columbus, and indeed before other civilizations. The strongest evidence of African presence in America before Columbus comes from an eyewitness account of Columbus himself. In 1920, a renowned historian and linguist, Leo Wiener of Harvard University, in his book Africa and the Discovery of America, explained how Columbus noted in his journal that Native Americans had confirmed that black-skinned people had come from the southeast in boats, trading in gold-tipped spears. Ever since Christopher Columbus first suggested that black Africans preceded him, a number of scholars investigated this contention. In his journal of the Second Voyage,
All right, now I come back to that. So that's very interesting. I really like that. It's very interesting. So it talked about in the video where black Africans, were already coming to, trade in what we call the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus. So if that was the case, and that was in, Christopher Columbus was in the late 1400s, 1490-ish, 1492-ish or whatnot, then that would let you know that many of the black people were already here in, coming here in the, the Americas prior to that. So that would make those people, I guess, part of the Aboriginal people, because it said, it was prior to the Aztecs, prior to the Incas, right? So, that will make many of the black Americans, or what we call ADOS, or foundational black Americans, pre-existing many of these other cultures. So they do have a point, when Dane Calloway talks about that, they do have a point where they, where they are saying that, black people or black Americans or Americans descendants of slaves or foundational black Americans are some of the oldest people here, and not all of them did migrate from Africa. I mean, not all of them were brought through the transatlantic slave trade to what we call the United States of America. Now, we all do know that majority of the slaves brought from Africa were brought to South America, and the highest concentration of African ness or African culture or African blood outside of Africa is in South America. Okay, now I want to say it was maybe between 20 to 50,000 of them were brought to what we call the United States of America, and it has, of course, grown to about 30 million people. But still, that doesn't keep me from thinking that maybe you did have some Black Aboriginal people here that did intermix with those Black Africans, modifying the genetics and modifying the culture, giving you what you would call, foundational Black Americans or American descendants of slaves. So it's such a wide range. It's hard to almost take one person's philosophy and say it fits all scenarios, because it's just so much has occurred in a time frame, right? So that's how I feel about that. Now, of course, I listen to Jason Black and Professor Black Truth. Now, they do get you emotionally invested and utilize that to help you dive into the movements. And I think that many of the things that they talk about is relevant. When they talk about like Kamala Harris, her white husband, some of her anti-Black legislation that they feel, when they talk about the Ketanji, her white husband, and the Lockheed Martin situation, and some of her, what they feel is like anti-Black legislation. So I really feel like those issues that they talk about are relevant and need to be spoken about. The thing I have against them sometimes is that since they don't show their face, I really feel like that is, I don't know. I just, I'm kind of sketchy on that sometimes when people get on YouTube and don't really show their face. But that's neither here nor there, because, as long as the message is out there, I guess it's fine too, right? So, I mean, I guess that kind of pretty much sums it up. I think that listening to Dane Calloway, listening to Tariq, listening to Dr. Umar, Pan-Africanism Strikes Back, Brandon, listen to Brandon Tatum, Officer Tatum, Professor Black True, um, Jason Black, even Kwame Brown. Some of these people, there is truth in all of them, but you just have to decipher what works best for you in your life and do your own research and develop a philosophy. But what we don't need as a Black community, whether you be Black in Australia, Black in America, Black in the United States, is division. We have enough division. We talk about white supremacy, but right now with the current mindset of a lot of Black people, and not just in the United States, we talk worldwide. If Black people were running the world, how would the world look right now? Like, and many of us are ignorant and running behind, childish things. Um, I think one person put it like that. We just big kids in the playground, and a lot of the heavy lifting we leaving up to the other cultures to do. Many of us are not starting an economic base in our communities. When civil rights passed, many of us start selling our Black businesses to other ethnicities, because we wanted to integrate and be like the oppressor. So, when are we going to get off of that and stop arguing and fighting with the Hebrew Israelites and fighting with the Muslims and fighting with the Crips and the Bloods, and just the ignorance, man. And it's time to set that aside. We have more in common than we have apart. So to me, that's the message, man. Continue doing what you guys are doing. I wish all of you guys financial success. I hope that everybody is able to take care of their family, feed their family, have enough money to send their kids to college, take care of themselves, and have adequate transportation and adequate home housing. So, just because someone has more in abundance than you doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. So that's my message for tonight. Hope you guys have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. For those of y'all that get a chance to see it, I will play this little portion again, because I really feel like it's really powerful, about our ancestors. All right, so let me share the screen one more time. All right, so with this, guys, it's just basically just saying that Africans have been coming here to what we call the United States, or two of the Americas, prior to Christopher Columbus, based on his own his own words. And so there is evidence that black people are aboriginal to this land. Because if black people had already conquered the world, why wouldn't that make them aboriginal? Now that doesn't make you any less African, but it does make you one of the aboriginal or one of the first peoples to be on this continent. So, all right, let's take a look at it. Here we go.
Contrary to popular belief, African American history did not start with slavery. An overwhelming body of new evidence is emerging, which proves that Africans had frequently sailed across the Atlantic to the Americas thousands of years before Columbus, and indeed before other civilizations. The strongest evidence of African presence in America before Columbus comes from an eyewitness account of Columbus himself. In 1920, a renowned historian and linguist, Leo Wiener of Harvard University, in his book Africa and the Discovery of America, explained how Columbus noted in his journal that Native Americans had confirmed that black-skinned people had come from the southeast in boats, trading in gold-tipped spears. Ever since Christopher Columbus first suggested that black Africans preceded him, a number of scholars investigated this contention.
All right. I mean, I'll leave y'all with that, So it just confirms to me that, black Africans had already been coming here. So when people try to dismiss the FBA, the Foundation of Black Americans, concept or ideology, it's really kind of hard to do. I'm all for the Pan-Africanism, let's unite, black Americans and the Aborigines, the black Australians, and the black Asians, and all these black people from around the world together, the black Jamaicans, and the black Haitians, and all of these people who ancestors, of course, migrated out of or were taken or whatever the case may be, out of Africa to colonize the world, and then through, of course, European colonism. A lot of that has changed, but I'm all for the unification of all those people. So we just have to put our differences aside and find commonality, and then we can bicker over small things or when we get some type of power base. But right now we have we need to put that aside. We have more and realize we have more in common than we do have separate. So big ups to all these guys that are putting their reputation and lives on the line to speak out on the truth, because the truth needs to be told. And we are living under there is racism out here, and just telling black people to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, is a good best. It's a good idealistic philosophy, right? But many of us, are in the situations to where there are many people that don't want to accept you into their university. There are many people that don't want to hire you, and employ you. Not saying that you cannot overcome those adversities, but sometimes you shouldn't even have to. If you're the best qualified, then you should get the job, right? You should be admitted, right? But we all know that that's not always the case. But we can't tell our children to give up because there may be a situation that they occur where they, may be stopped unjustly or be perceived a certain way because you got a hoodie on your head, and that's just not real world. A lot of us want to live in a fairy tale, but you got to be real aware of what's actually happening, right? So may God bless you all. The Creator take care of you guys. Hope you guys have a good week. Have a good night. Hopefully I see you guys soon with a new video. I want to really talk about something else, but I feel like this happening this week and people were talking about it. I really want to just, kind of cover this subject. So, shout out to everybody. You guys have a blessing. I'm out. Peace.